Experts say violence at schools is a reflection of broader South African society, exposure to violence and brutality within families and in communities in which pupils live rubs off on young people. Last week, there were two incidents that once again put the spotlight on the problem of violence in schools. In Eldorado Park, south of Johannesburg, a learner allegedly used a gun to threaten a teacher who managed to take the gun away. In Dinokana near Zeerust in the northwest, another learner allegedly stabbed and killed a teacher. I'm now joined by basic education spokesperson Mhlanga. But first, here's a reminder of how Basic Education Minister Angie Motshekga responded yesterday on the question of violence in schools.
We have to work with social services, work with government to see if we can strengthen psychosocial services in our schools, because in the main, to me, that's the biggest problem. It's the learners themselves. It's not the fencing, it's not anything else. The searching, it's not anything. It's the learners themselves. They're the biggest threat. It's rare that we get attacked, that there are criminals who come to school and chase us around. We don't have such. Communities still respect schools. It's inside the school where the problems are. There will have been incidents where criminals come and break. They break after schools, they don't break during school hours. Right? So the external threats, yes, are there. The threats are internal threats. And that's what we have to sit down with governing bodies to say, if we find your child perhaps with an instrument, the law must allow us, will expel them. And I can give you lots of incidents. The one that they like about the young one with a broom chasing the teacher, it has nothing to do with any security. It has to do with the child. It's an angry child who just goes and chases a big man with a broom. It's the child themselves. So to see how do we help the children themselves? Kids bring guns to school. It's not external threats. It's internal threats. Again, it's children, and also access to drugs, access to dangerous instruments.
In one of the latest incidents, a 19-year-old pupil is seen assaulting a bus driver. Please take note that the following visuals are of a violent nature and may offend some viewers. The pupil from Hoërskool Oosterland attacked the driver while he was transporting students home from school. The circumstances that triggered the attack are yet to be investigated. A case of assault has, however, been opened. The pupil had already appeared in court and faced a school disciplinary hearing on Tuesday. The Department of Education says it will closely monitor the process and await the recommendations from the school governing body. I'm now joined in studio by Basic Education spokesperson Mhlanga. Thanks so much for your time on SABC News. We heard Minister Motshekga saying that this is a problem that has to do with pupils. So how do you deal with, in a society that has a culture of violence and that has violence everywhere, deal with it in primary schools specifically and high schools as well?
Well, it's a difficult one, because even in that case of that learner there who was assaulting the bus driver, how would you protect that driver against the learners? Because he is teaching them, and he's taking them home and he's taking them to school. In the case of a teacher inside a classroom, the teacher is supposed to come into contact with learners anyway in the normal course of business. But how do you determine when to begin to protect a teacher against the learners? When do you know the learner will turn against you, will bring a knife or bring a gun to shoot you or even stab you to death? It's difficult. It's something that needs a mindset change from the side of the learners, but also the parents, because it is them who are responsible for teaching of values and instilling a sense of self-respect to the children.
But I suppose it's your department, it's your portfolio, so we're going to be asking you to answer those questions that you're posing to us, because that's your responsibility in part.
No, security is not our portfolio. Our portfolio is learning and teaching. That's all that we do.
I understand that, but I'm saying when the problems come inside learning and teaching, surely you also need to be part of the solution, because you can't say we only deal with the good aspects of teaching in schools and the bad aspects it's for police or other people.
No, the education system has always been part of the solution, but insofar as reinforcing values that have already been taught at home, because the first lesson, whether to say the first word or whether to make your first step or whether to see your first color, it starts at home. At school, that's where it becomes organized and official and being reinforced and supported. So we can't teach you new values if you don't know them, because we do what we can in terms of what the curriculum offers. The values are there. We teach self-respect. In fact, we even have a code of conduct for parents and teachers and learners. We say, as a learner, do understand that the reason for being in school is to learn. Therefore, you need to subject yourself to the authority of the teacher. It's there, and teachers tell them that. So if a qualified individual who has earned the right to stand in front of you and teach you, you don't want to listen to that person, what else can be done by us? Because these teachers, when they go to university for training, they are not taught all these things that you now need to look out for dangerous learners who might just stand up and stab you. It's something that is new. It was never there. We used to respect and fear teachers to a certain extent. And that worked in terms of managing the classroom itself for effective learning and teaching to take place.
Okay, we saw Police Minister Becky Cele going to University of Zululand and saying that as a short-term measure, because of he's worried about the violence, they're going to bring in police. Is the Department of Basic Education speaking to police to say, even though this is a larger solution, what can we do now to reassure parents and reassure South Africans that we are looking at this problem together?
We've always been working together with the SAPS. We actually have a written agreement which is about 6 or 7 years old with them. We work with them. They do come and conduct searches, and they do them on a daily basis. But there are 25,000 schools, and we don't have capacity in the police service to be everywhere, every day. And learners know, in like 4 or 5 days ago, last week, they went into a school, conducted searches, found weapons, found drugs, took them. But the learners know that if the police are there today, tomorrow they won't be there because they want to go. They will need to go to another school. Then they will bring those weapons. But the other issue is that a learner who comes into a school wearing a school uniform, you know that learner. You don't know that today they're coming to stab you. So how do you then behave differently to protect yourself from that land? It's a complex thing. That's why the minister says that we will need the involvement of other stakeholders as well. Social development to look into the whole psychosocial aspect of this particular matter, but also the police to be there. The police, in fact, we have linked our schools, 18,000 schools, to police stations, where police are able to come into a school in a normal course of business, talk to young people about reporting violent behavior, about respecting yourself, respecting other people, privacy, and all of those things. But these things still continue, because if they are hearing about this for the first time in school, and at home they don't get the same message, and elsewhere in the community they don't get that message, then they think it's a school thing.
Do you feel overwhelmed as a department, or do you feel like this is something that can be taken care of?
No, we've got 12 million learners in the system, in fact 12.9 million, and these troublemakers are a small minority. So all that we need is to tell their parents to make sure that they strengthen their hand in terms of parenting, and make sure that this minority that is causing trouble in the system are dealt with, and harshly so, because we need to stop this nonsense of young people deciding that they are going to have the last word in every situation, even when they are told what they must do. I mean, in all these situations, when you follow them, in Northwest, that child had been cautioned, in fact, a 17-year-old in grade 10, which is another problem that we can talk about another day. He had been cautioned that don't jump the queue because other children are already standing there to receive their meals. He didn't like that. He went home, slept over it, woke up, came to school at about 10. He still went to implement his plan. He killed that teacher. Here in Gauteng, that teacher had been told that don't wear a cap. It's not part of the school uniform. He was told over 2 days. He refused. He insisted that he would have the last word in that matter. And he brought a gun and used it against the teacher. So you can see that it's discipline issues at home and young people refusing to subject themselves to the authority of adults.
So how closely then do you work with parents who have a huge responsibility in curbing this kind of behavior and making sure that it doesn't even get to this level when it comes to issues like this in day-to-day schooling? We do
work with parents. That's why we always encourage parents to take part in school activities, school meetings. When you're invited, please go. When a school invites you to come to discuss any issues around your child, please make sure that you make your way there. We know that people say, no, I leave home early and come back late, but you will have to make a plan to go there, because no one else will take care of your child if you are not there yourself. But you find that sometimes even in meetings, the attendance rate is very low, but we trust that people will participate in SGB meetings and make sure that each and every SGB is fully effective, it does its job, it has the right committees that are able to look after the affairs of the school. So we do that, but beyond that, we have what we call a national consultative forum, where all our stakeholders in the education sector come through to discuss with us all sorts of issues that we are facing so that we can get solutions from them. But at the end of the day, it goes back to that one household where things are not going right. for the entire system to be tarnished.
And how do you then train teachers in dealing with conflict, in managing learners who are problematic without punishing them in a way that's perhaps cruel, but steering them in the right way, bringing in social services perhaps? How do you do that?
The teachers know that if a young person is giving you problems and you caution them and they don't listen, they do it again, you talk to them and you write a letter to the parents to say, there might be something wrong with this child. Come, let's talk about it. If the parents come, then it becomes better because then you know that you've got support from home. And many parents do that. Some even go to schools voluntarily without there being an issue. They go there, join WhatsApp groups with teachers, and the parent is able to know what my child is doing right now, and whether they came to school neat or whether they forgot their lunchbox. You know, such things. And when a child sees you, the parent, at school without notice, then they can see that they're being watched. So if they know that at home they're being watched, at school they're being watched, then they've got little space to maneuver and there's no space for trouble. So that's what we need to do. We need to come even closer to our children. But of course, someone will argue and say, yes, but we've got orphans that don't have any parents. That's where the community should come in. That's where social services should come in, and relatives as well must come through to assist, because if you don't do it, this is what happens with our kids. They just decide to take a life like that and feel nothing because they feel they have nothing to lose.
Elijah Mhlanga, spokesperson of the Basic Education Department, thanks so much for your time on SABC News. You can send us your comments to #FullView on Twitter. You can also send us your voice notes or video call us on 066 479 8056 if you're in South Africa. Of course, if you are outside the country, you can add that prefix +27. You can view any of our interviews and features by going to sabcnews.com. You can also find us on Facebook and Twitter.